friends. It's almost midnight, and you've found your way to the PikeCast. Come along as we careen through the catalog of the most formative horror writer of our young adult days, Christopher Pike. From adult perspectives, we'll revisit these YA books our parents probably would never have let us read had they known what lie inside. We tackle one book per episode in a freewheeling and unbiased chat. So grab your battered paperback, pull the flashlight from the kitchen drawer, climb under your bed covers, and devour a good book with us. Greetings, fellow Pikers, and welcome to the PikeCast. I'm Cooper Beckett, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my lovely co-hosts.
Hello, I'm Cassie.
Hi, I'm Becca.
Today, we are digging into Christopher Pike's very first YA horror novel, part of the Point Horror series, 1985's Slumber Party. And we're going to be dissecting it in great detail, spoiling each and every plot twist, so consider yourself warned. If you're enjoying the PikeCast, please leave us a review on the podcast service of your choice. Our guest Piker this week is author David Sodergren and his pug sidekick, Boris.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I mean, David, I hope you don't mind. It is possible we're more excited about having Boris, but I assume you understand that and
I'm
get that a
used
lot.
to it now. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Our first puppy guest.
I'm
Yay!
So Woo! Yay, Boris.
He's sleeping on the chair just now. He's giving me the side eye. So.
Oh, no, yeah, there's nothing like puppy side eye.
Yeah.
So before we dig into the book, David, I want to ask you a few questions. How did you discover Christopher Pike?
It would have been sometime around the early 90s. I was born in 82, so I'd started reading Stephen King maybe when I was about 8 or so. So I was reading King first. And
Wow.
I don't remember Pike being that popular in the UK. I'm probably completely wrong on that. But it seemed to be more point horror was the big thing for us here, certainly in Scotland. So I'd read mostly point horror stuff. And then my friend went to America and he came back with 2 Christopher Pike books. One was Monster, which I read and thought was absolutely terrific. That was my first choice for doing this podcast.
That was actually a lot of people's first choice.
Yeah, it was.
I wish I'd gotten in faster. The second one was, I thought it was Slumber Party. It turns out it was Scavenger Hunt.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, yeah, this Slumber Party was the first time I'd read this book.
Well, let me ask, David, what is the thing that keeps Christopher Pike in your mind?
It's not. I'm one of these people on the. You know, when you listen to a podcast and they get a guest on, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't really know much about this thing that we're talking about." That's me.
Okay, that's good.
I'm that guy that I usually hate. So,
Well, no, I mean, you've read Pike before. You clearly enjoyed his work. You have the awesome UK cover, which is better than the American cover for a change.
Much better. Do you know what? It's the covers and the artwork and even just the logo. You know, the typeface for his name and the title of things. That's what I think of when I think of Christopher Pike.
Absolutely. Well, let's move into our first section, Magic Fire, and we'll start by reading the back of the book. Who's got that for me this week?
It's me. Okay.
Take it away, Becca.
Gotcha. It was the perfect weekend for murder. Laura thought the ski trip should be a blast. The old gang was getting together for the first time in years. What could be better than 6 single girls out for sun and ski and a praise ski? Plus a huge house and a warm fire. Even with the memory of what had happened the last time, it looked like the perfect weekend, until things started to go wrong. It wasn't much at first, a snowman that melted when it shouldn't have, a weird phone call, but then somebody went out for one last round and did not come back. And the storm they heard about on the radio was getting worse. Laura thought everyone was up there for a good time, but she was beginning to realize that someone was up there for murder.
Bum, bum, bum.
I love it.
Me too.
Okay, let's talk about the art. It's his first book, so it came out in point horror. So the art, the American art, is very
Basic.
standard point horror, which is like a liminal space, just a house with a light on, and there's people inside. But yeah, David, I got to look at the cover of your book, and for a change, I am really jealous of the UK cover because the flaming snowman is awesome.
Yeah.
He's really angry looking. Understandable.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous that I didn't get a snowman.
But it's also got the house in the UK one looks very, very similar to the Overlook Hotel in the Slumber Party.
It does.
And you've got these mountains. It's really atmospheric. And if it wasn't for the snowman's sort of slightly curmudgeonly look, it would be quite creepy. It just looks annoying.
Well, I mean, it looks like a killer snowman story, really. A spontaneous combustion killer snowman.
Yeah, we'll talk about that fucking snowman.
Well, okay, so now we got to ask ourselves, does the back of the book actually accurately represent what's inside? I don't think the back of the book really does.
Yeah, like it's a little bit different. Like there's somebody there for murder, like she's saying, but like nobody goes out for just one more run. Like that's not what happened with that girl. And
they weren't here the last time.
Oh, they were at a different place, right?
They were at
the other girl's house.
The only slumber party in the book is where they were last time.
I feel like the back of this one is more like as if it was a slasher, which is what I would have really liked.
And truly, early point horrors often play that. Hey, it's basically an Agatha Christie story, but we're going to push it as a slasher.
I was expecting a bit more slashing from it, because it really I think the back still oversells it because nothing. Look, spoiler for my upcoming thoughts, but nothing much happens in this movie. It's a very long time.
So we're iffy on the coverage of the book. Let's move into the Midnight Club and talk about our characters. And let's start with Laura Johnson, a senior in high school who is really desperate because she hasn't gone out on a date in 6 whole weeks.
I didn't realize it was only 6 weeks.
Yeah, like she literally talks about how much she needs a date because she hasn't been on one in 6 weeks.
Oh, poor girl.
I like that she has the traditional Pike. Her nose is like a little bit too large, so she can't be that pretty, obviously, because of her nose.
Right.
How many of his girls do that? Like, all of them have just over large noses, but only by just a little.
Yeah, well, poor Dana is our shit on fat character.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Laura goes out of her way to be pissed off that Rachel is the homecoming queen. And she has to diet and eat vegetable soup. And I understand that would make anybody angry. But I mean, like right away, we have her wanting to diet 7 pounds away.
Wait, was that a dig at vegetable soup? Because I like vegetable soup.
I made the dig. Pike didn't make the dig. It was my dig.
I was like, when I was reading that, I was like, yum, bowl of vegetable soup. The other thing, cashew chicken sandwich. What is even that? I've never.
Oh, I know.
What the heck?
Well, I mean, this is our first Pike book that doesn't have McDonald's in it.
I missed the McDonald's.
So we have to instead get ridiculously detailed about other foods. And yeah, that cashew chicken sandwich, it sounds like a Chinese fusion dish.
Yeah, because I've had like cashew chicken, like dishes, but not in bread. That's weird.
Oh, Boris is upset.
We're talking about food. That's what's the problem.
He's like, don't knock it till you try it, girl.
Yeah, we want a cashew chicken sandwich.
So Laura's our protagonist. I mean,
did anyone actually like her?
No.
I found her obnoxious.
I don't think I like anyone. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I kind of like.
I mean, Honestly, I like
Dana.
Celeste the most, and she's the
Yeah.
one that's hiding a whole other person.
Right.
Whoa!
Oh,
He
God.
also likes
Yes.
Celeste.
Yeah, Boris is on
Yes,
Team
Boris,
Celeste.
yes. Loves it.
I
But, I
apologize
mean-
to the listeners for these random barking.
Oh,
It will
it's
happen.
okay.
No, he's just chiming in.
Right, it
He's
really
Yeah.
adds
a guest.
character to the podcast. Love it.
We like that. Yes, we are all here for that.
Tell us how you feel,
So
Boris.
Lara doesn't seem to like any. Well, in fact, it's a problem for all of them. No one seems to like each other. Like, Lara
Exactly.
hates everyone.
Like, that seems like the lamest slumber party. Like, I would not want to go to a slumber party where everyone hates me.
Yeah. It feels like I mean, and the thing is, this is only 8 years after the horrific slumber party where Nicole, quote, died. There's our spoiler warning again, by being set on fire.
I mean, you can't really spoil a twist that the book spoils about 8 pages in. So
Oh my God. Yeah. The amount of foreshadowing. See, I got into this book thinking, okay, point horror. I remember point horror being, it's always like the person you kind of expect. But then they just gave us this laundry list of red herrings. And I didn't trust anybody.
I liked
whole
that.
thing.
I was excited. I was like, who did it? Who is it? Like, everybody was so suspicious to me. And like, even the main girl, she was talking about Carrie and like all these like pyro things. And I was like, I don't know what's going on in this book. Oh my God. Like, let's get to the end. Like, I know the consensus, I guess, for most of the people who read it that like are from our Patreon and stuff, nobody liked it, but I really was here for it. Like, I liked it. I thought it would have made a fun movie. Like,
I think it would also make a fun movie. I just think it's the most skeletal of the books we've read of his.
I agree. Yeah.
It definitely has potential for sure. So,
like the story, the actual story of it is very interesting. It is just, I really dislike stories where everybody hates each other. You know, it reminds me of the way I feel about 99% of Michael Bay movies. Everybody is angry all the time. It doesn't matter what their character is, what their traits are. They're just angry. And they're yelling at each other all the time.
But even sometimes it's just a really passive-aggressive thing as well. Like Lara said, Dana's face is one best loved by a mother.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
Horrible.
I mean, and Dana's a nice person. Dana seems to actually be Laura's friend, and Laura's constantly talking about how chubby she is, how I mean, just like constantly. It's frustrating.
one thing that really throws me off of Laura is the scene where Dana is missing, and yet the guys come over and she's like, "Oh no, I forgot my makeup." And I'm like, "Your friend is missing, bro. Who cares? Like, go find her."
Yeah, she vacillates wildly between being so concerned about the mystery of the missing girl,
right?
And
don't forget the mystery of the melting snowman, the most compelling mystery.
Oh yeah, the most important mystery in the whole book, the snowman that melted.
Back to that, I was so tired of it. I was like, snowman, like they melt. That is a thing that happens. Snow does not stay snow forever, man. Like, come on. And they're like, but it was in shade. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like,
I mean, seriously, she is so. What's the thing kids today are saying? Thirsty?
Whack. Oh yeah.
Like,
did you say whack? How could that?
Becca, I don't think kids today are saying whack.
I forgot. Okay.
Forgot what Becca
Also, I love that it's just like thirsty whack.
I'm still stuck in the 90s. I'm sorry.
So let's break her down, okay? She's a virgin. which is fairly common in these point horrors and in Pike's work so far, the protagonist virgin. That's come up a bunch of times.
The horny virgin, specifically.
But, oh my God, is she horny and obnoxiously in love. Like, I was angry. I was physically angry by how much she was in love with Percy.
Dude, and Percy is the most basic oatmeal, like, I cannot. What is she doing? Lusting over this man that just comes out of the snow. I was following you. I looked up your phone number and address. Like, dude, what the fuck?
I mean, that part. Yeah.
What a creep, man.
Yes.
You're so creepy. Get him out of here. I just can't
Are
with
you
that part.
Are you getting vibes from, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I forgot that name. Joe, right? Joe.
Yeah, Joe. That's his name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, and here's the funniest thing about it. Like, she is so into Percy that it feels like Pike is into Percy because, I mean, literally in the first 2 pages of Percy, we get like 3 paragraphs worth of description. You know, he has olive skin. He's either of Greek or Slavic descent, unmanaged black hair, originally from Canada, an orphan who hadn't gotten back. Like, what the fuck? Like, we don't know any of the girls. The main characters, we don't know them this well.
There's too many characters. That's the problem.
Oh, good Lord, there are too many characters. Like, I completely forgot about Mindy, and like all the other characters completely forget about Mindy too, and just leave her in the house to burn until they have to go back in and get her.
That's because she was unconscious. The only time they remember her is when she's there, like, he's my boyfriend. Is he here? Where's Cal? Where's that guy? Hey, where's the guy? Is there a guy here? Is there a guy?
And, you know, it's funny because as a writer who has spent time not being great, I know how it is to just want to fridge a character. You know, just like, okay, I have no idea what to do with this character, but clearly I need to keep them. So they're unconscious. I don't know. And then I don't have to worry about them for 2/3 of the book because they're unconscious. That's it. Yes, there are way too many fucking characters.
Far too many. And they're all introduced with their first name and surname in the first like 3 pages. And I've taken my notes. I was like, I had a meltdown. So many characters, no one likes each other. Maddening.
No one likes each other. Except for Laura and Percy. Oh, he's the cutest. I mean, the best looking guy that I've ever, for fuck's sake. Like, I literally wrote for fuck's sake over and over in this.
And it was so stupid too, because they go into so much detail about him and how he's got, like, he's some truck driver from some city and doesn't really have any roots anywhere, has no home, barely has money. And she's like, he's going to pick me up in a fancy car and take me out for fucking lobster. And I'm like, are you stupid? Like, where did you get that from? What the hell? Yeah, no, yes, she is. We don't like her.
Let's talk about Dana, who is fat.
She was sweet. I liked her. That
she
was
is
so
very
good to
sweet.
her for no reason. This girl, and she took it too. She's like, I've got a double chin. Do I really? They're like, no. She's like, I know you're lying. Let's go eat some food. Like, that is the kind of, I can get with that kind of vibe right there.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She also pulled Lara up. When Lara insulted her, said she had built-in shock absorbers on her arse.
Oh my God, yeah.
She was like, say sorry or we'll fall out. And Lara's like, oh, I'm sorry. And so I like that part of her character. She was like, I can take it, but you've gone too far.
Yeah. Also, how is that an insult? Like, girl, get that booty. Like, look at you. Good for her.
Dana says she wishes anorexia was contagious and she knew someone who could infect her.
Oh my God. And that is one of the most like, there's a lot of problematic shit in here, but that one really upset me.
Yeah, that was not good.
The double chin. She was going to have 6 children and be plump all her life, according to the Ouija board, I think.
I forgot about that.
Like, and even the Ouija board is shitting on poor Dana.
Damn.
And when she's eating that cake, they're making it a point of how she's eating the chocolate cake because she's chubby, but then the other girl goes back and eats cake too.
Right.
Yeah, because she hates herself. Yeah, she's a skinny girl who hates herself because she has to diet to be skinny.
So the problem is that Dana's like, probably, I think we can all agree, maybe that she's the most likable, sort of relatable character.
Yeah.
And then she disappears for half the book.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So speaking about fridging a character, she disappears like a third of the way into the story, which really, let's be honest, should have been
Mindy.
like the first. Well, I mean, no, but yeah, you're right. But like that first third should have been the first 15 pages, because seriously, the first act of this book goes on for 2/3 of the book.
Yeah.
And then we
one
just
itself is so long.
stampede through the last act. It's insanely structured. But yes, Dana is the most interesting, and we keep Mindy instead until we have to get rid of her, because too many characters. Let's talk about the Rachel Grayson, who I wrote in the margins, what a cunt.
Yeah.
Because she specifically tells Nell, I like fires. Yes, girl whose face got caught on fire and whose sister died from fire. I like fires. She's just a cunt.
Yeah, she's rude.
Not a fan.
Oh my God.
And she was planning on faking that whole thing. She knew she didn't think she was going to win, even how she's acting. And she was going to rig the entire like little, what is it? Student body, like homecoming queen or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
was she going to actually carry her, or was she just going to rig it?
I felt like both.
I mean, it like, I mean,
so twisted.
So she and Lara spend the entire book basically fighting over white bread Percy.
White bread
and fighting in the cattiest ways ever. Like she shows up, she's wearing a turtleneck and no bra. Oh my God. Oh my God. And Laura really, I mean, Pike really wants us to think Rachel's the bad guy. Like, specifically saying, since childhood, Laura had sensed but never witnessed a part of Rachel capable of genuine violence. It's like, these aren't red herrings. This is you just pointing at other people, telling us that they're the bad guy. It's not even, it's not even a red herring. But she falls in line with Pike's many tall, blonde, model-like, sexy, obnoxious, bitchy characters.
At one point, she smiles faintly, acknowledging her physical superiority. One of my favorite lines. I've never managed to smile and acknowledge my physical superiority, but I'm going to try.
Well, you know, I
Bucket
mean,
list.
we all have to aspire to that. Yeah.
I think it's wild too that like between the two of them fighting over this guy, didn't it strike anybody else weird that he met this young girl in a mall and he's like, let's meet up again in the snow or whatever. Like, how did they have plans to meet there again at this other place on vacation? Did he follow her?
Yeah.
And then he just jumps to the other girl and is like, sorry, Rachel, no longer interested in you and your turtleneck boobs. Get out of here. Like, I'm here for Laura now. I don't get it. Like, he's so gross, man. Like, he was the grossest thing. Ugh.
And he's older, right? He's
22.
22. Which gives me, like, I'm going to just jump right into the problematic section, because I really, really, really had a problem with her saying, I'm 18, and then in parentheses, but I'm 17.
Yeah.
And then she says, do I look like I'm in high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our heroine. That's who we're supposed to be rooting for.
I mean, here it is. The law won't come after you.
They definitely will.
Yeah. I mean, that's... that's what everybody who has a relationship with an underage person says. Oh, she said she was 18. And literally that's what's happening here.
That whole
just upsetting.
That whole seduction scene is absolutely incredible, though. It's like it's freezing cold.
Negative 10 degrees. Yeah. Let's make out for a little while. Let me give you blowjob jokes, because it's negative 10 degrees.
And then she's mad that he doesn't get it.
Honorable Percy. Oh.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's no sexuality at -10 degrees.
Dude, I hit 50 degrees and I'm like, don't touch me. I need a blanket. It is too cold in here for this. She's out there getting disappointed because he's like rebuffing her. And I'm like, you little horn dog, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get out of the snow, girl. And then she gets frostbite on her fingertips later. And I was just laughing to myself. That's what you get.
Let's move on to Celeste. And we know she's Nicole. But as Nicole is really only an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old?
6, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Let's just treat them as two different characters because they are for most of the book. I mean, Celeste is the most obvious, like the entire time, like right in the beginning, the doubt forced her to evaluate just how scant their knowledge of Celeste was. Okay. I mean, yeah, right. Her parents were dead. She lived alone with her aunt. She had a bad back from a car accident. It's like, geez, it's suspicious.
Oh my gosh.
So her
Suspicious.
was her face not completely burnt at all?
Apparently.
It's just her body that's burnt.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense.
No, because with all of this, like, they're like, oh, she's going to be so beautiful when she grows up. Y'all know what she looks like. It's been 8 years. Like, she could not look like a completely different person now that you do not recognize her. That's crazy.
And if she had the plastic surgery that altered her face, no wonder Nell was so pissed off, because Nell has plastic face, according to the book. And, I mean, there's so much that doesn't make sense about this reveal.
Yeah.
And yet it's kind of cool.
I like it, yeah.
I could just see like a sort of Brian De Palma version of this where like, if it'd been hidden better or something, I don't know. It could.
I mean, if it had been hidden at all, really, let's be honest. If it had actually been a twist instead of the thing we were just waiting for them to reveal, because like even she and Nell used the same line of dialogue. She seems like a nice girl. Both of them, within a page of each other, say she seems like a nice girl about the other. It's just too obvious. It's like, we get it. And so then when eventually it's revealed, it's just like, okay, yeah, we're on board. Don't fuck with us anymore. But what really bothered me is Celeste trying to get Laura out of there?
It seemed like it in the beginning, where she's like, I forgot exact words, but yeah, she like warns her like, hey, you should go. So. And
she even says, I tried to warn you,
right,
but then said I was never your friend. And it's like, I don't like, is Celeste under the spell of the real baddie Nell?
Do we got a Jekyll and Hyde situation? Because that's the vibes I'm getting.
I feel like it's more just the characters act how the scene requires them to act to move on to the next chapter.
That's very true.
Yeah. No, I'm on board with that.
Celeste at the very start, she's like, there's got a bit where she giggles and runs into the snow, and she seems really bubbly and lively because that's what's needed at that point, because we're supposed to think they're all friends. And then she becomes incredibly withdrawn, and then she becomes, then she tries to. It's happened with all the characters as well. It just feels like, yeah, he's making it up as he goes along, and he's not gone back and got right about changing the characters so they're consistent throughout. It
feels like a first draft.
Yes, definitely.
And honestly, this book came after Pike was desperately trying to get some of his adult fiction published, and he was given the opportunity to write a cheap, quick teen horror book. And that's what he gave us, a cheap, quick teen horror book. And I don't blame him for it at all. I just feel like his heart wasn't in it here.
Yeah, because I've been listening to your other episodes, and it sounds like you're giving your best lines, and there's some really great lines, and the plots. I mean, I remember Monster being absolutely fucking bananas.
It is, yeah.
And then reading this one, I was like, oh my god, it's bland.
I'm going to be really I'm just going to admit how dense I am here. So first of all, Cooper, I did not realize what was happening until they revealed it. I did not know. So for me, it was not like beating me over the head because there were a bunch of like little notes to them that could be, but there were also things like that for Rachel and for like the guys and for Cal and stuff. So I didn't know for sure. So when they finally did admit it, I was like, oh shit. And then also going back to how she's been acting, like, for me, that was believable. Like, she's been manipulated for 8 years by her older sister, who's the only person she's had. So while she's in the room with her older sister and everything's going down, it seems natural that she would default back to, I've never been your friend. Like, I'm here. We're getting revenge on you guys. Like, this is what's happening. But then, like, her conscience getting the better of her because the things aren't lining up. Her sister's been lying to her. She remembers in the past that her sister was actually kind of a dick. So even though she's the only thing she's had for 8 years, she's like, no, I'm going to take a stand now and turn against her. So I don't know. I thought,
no, that makes sense.
I appreciate what you guys are saying, but I also think that for me, it was like a little bit more believable. Just, it didn't seem as random as like, oh, the scene needs this. Like, it seemed believable for me, for her as a young character who's been influenced by other people and very hurt, like her whole life.
And been very sheltered her whole life too.
Yeah.
I love the idea of her that they have, they've actually like faked her death.
She
had her own funeral.
It feels a little overdone to me.
I don't know why they would fake her death and do all that to let her like bow out, but then let her come back and live with an aunt and go to school again with a different name. Like, that's so strange.
Well, something that threw me off was like when she was young and she blew up like a cocktail Molotov or whatever, Molotov cocktail, whatever way it goes. And like, I automatically, like, when I was, like, reading it, I pictured it as she literally, like, exploded, like, guts and everything. And so, like, they were like, she was in the hospital for a week after that. I was like, how? Like,
oh my God.
She's in pieces.
How would she?
So that really threw me off big time.
Okay, yeah.
Becca, I love that you're reading this and they're like, she caught fire from a candle and we poured alcohol on her and she's like, she exploded. There were cuts everywhere. That's how I took it.
Well,
I mean, let's be honest. That is far more traumatic.
Yes, that would have been awesome too.
Exactly.
Covered in like bits of her and stuff. Like, damn. Well, I mean, she wouldn't have come back as Celeste from that, I guess.
Yeah. I would have been more skeptical of her coming back as Celeste if she had literally exploded.
Imagine being me, who was skeptical the whole time because I thought she blew up.
It's like, what part of her was in the hospital? How much of her was in the hospital?
You're like, how did she survive a whole ass week?
Oh my.
Yeah, you guys should try being in my brain sometimes. It's fun.
Oh yeah. Well, let's move on to Nell, the sister, the plastic face, deformed, the pissed off sister of the book.
Yeah, I didn't make a single note about Nell. And that's all I've got to say.
I wonder why anyone in this book wants to be on this trip.
Right.
It's guilt.
Well, Lara seems to think it's going to be one of the high points of her life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and for someone who's so there's plenty of reason to be uncomfortable here. And going up with the same group of people who were there when Nell's sister exploded. Thank you, Becca.
You're welcome. I'm glad I put that image in your head.
Oh yeah, that's all I think now. Is she literally exploded?
Thank you.
It seems like the most uncomfortable trip ever, but they're all like just pretending. No, it's fine. No, we're just here because we want to hook up with random guys from the ski lodge, and they couldn't even find more guys.
They were the same two guys over again. Like, oh my God, that part was so good.
There was only two.
They're like, we're gonna have so many guys here tonight. Yes. Yeah. What the hell?
It's the line, a slumber party, not an orgy. Yeah.
All two of you.
Okay.
That's a really poppin' orgy, if you ask me.
Also, the boys aren't even sleeping over. They made it so clear that the boys were not invited to the slumber party. So why is it called Slumber Party?
The only thing I can get is the Slumber Party was the dramatic moment in their childhood. That's...
It should have been called The Burning Snowman.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah. Or that time our friend exploded.
Yeah. It came back.
Molotov Nicole.
Oh, I love it. And so, yeah, the timeline is very iffy here because, like you were saying, it's only been 8 years. And it feels like, coming back 20 years later, and really there should have been a big gap there. Because 8 years later, there's still all the fresh wound trauma. Like you haven't gotten over it and then are coming back to it yet.
Yeah, they should have all been ideally they've all been in their 20s, going on 30s or something maybe, and it's been a long enough time. And maybe they hadn't kept in contact with Nell all this time. Like they've been, and she just calls them out of the blue and it's like, hey, let's meet up for one more slumber party or something where they can watch Dr. Zhivago and do charades.
I want to watch that movie where it's 20 years. Yes, where it's 20 years later and their mysterious friend, the recluse Nell, calls them. Yeah, I want to see that story because this one is problematic, iffy, and yeah. But you mentioned Dr. Zhivago. They are Lara is very obsessed with the sex that may be happening between Omar Sharif and Julie Christie in town. Because Rachel is sure they're having sex, but Laura doesn't think he would do such a thing. That Omar Sharif, he's a classy gentleman who wouldn't have sex.
Like the Honourable Percy, who doesn't get jokes about blowjobs.
Yes, right.
He's looking for that white knight, that prince, Can I just point out, by the way, that Dr. Zhivago is 3.5 hours long? What 9-year-olds are watching that at a slumber party?
Yeah, on the projector. Like so let's see, okay, 85. There's not video projectors at this point, I don't think. So that means they have like a 16 millimeter print of Dr. Zhivago, which would be something like 8 to 10 reels long, probably. And they're bringing this over to the slumber party with the projector. And it's absurd.
Like a blast, yeah.
It's no wonder they got bored and started fucking lighting shit on
fire.
Setting each other on fire, yeah.
Seriously.
Okay, let's talk about non-character Mindy Casey.
We hate her.
Yeah, we do.
I'm sorry, that was rude. Look, it's not even her fault. If she were a real person, I would be like, this isn't her fault. She maybe doesn't know any better. But I hated the way she was written. Like, she was so annoying and vapid and just nothing redeemable. Nothing.
Right.
And throws hissy fits at every mention that she can't have Cal.
She's so obsessed with this guy that is gross.
Right. Can I mention this line?
Well, yeah, of course.
Sorry, I'm just like, let me ask first. You guys want to hear it?
Excuse me, I mentioned a line from the book.
Yeah,
Becca's had her hand raised for like 5 minutes, and she's like, "Are you going to call on me?"
Can I add to this conversation? No, but really,
yes, please.
I feel like this explains Mindy the best. Okay. Mindy suffered from the classical feminist deficient upbringing. It was never the guy's fault. And I feel like that wraps up her character all together, just how
100%.
Yes, that one line is all we needed about Mindy. She could have left. We just needed that one line. We didn't need her.
Actually, a reasonably profound thought in 1985.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
because it speaks to the type of problematic shit that we talk about now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. Unfortunately, that doesn't make her a character, and the way they have to just knock her out and then we're done with her for a while. Yeah. So Mindy got her hand set on fire, right?
In
her arm, I think
it's seen in literature history, yes.
They said the inside of her arm was covered with not boils, but blisters.
Right.
But it was just a sunburn from being in the tanning booth too long or something.
Yeah, like there's a lot of conflicting thoughts on what burns look like
Right.
here.
Because I'm imagining.
And what alcohol causes burns.
Right.
Because you need a specific proof level to set something on fire. I don't know.
Is that true? Can wine not set things on fire?
Wine
like
does
brandy?
not set on fire. 100%.
I was confused when I was reading because like the whole time they're talking about it, and then there's like one point where she's like, plus it was wine that I used and not brandy. And then that was mentioned once, and then they go back to her saying like, oh, I only used brandy. It wasn't gasoline.
Right.
So so confused.
I just did a quick search. According to this, the basic rule of thumb is anything 80 proof or above.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
40% alcohol or above will light. And there is not a wine on earth that is 40% alcohol.
Okay.
Even your high alcohol content dessert wines. Now they're. And what did she wind up hitting them with? I don't even remember what they threw at her or on her or.
Like the first time?
They dumped brandy on her the first time.
Yes, brandy.
Yeah.
I don't remember what caught her on fire the second time. Well, not like who caught Mindy on fire. Like,
Okay, so
alcohol?
brandy generally is 70 to 120 proof. Okay, so that could catch on fire. Yes.
Was it scotch the second time?
I don't know.
I can't believe they say.
But it seems like, doesn't it seem a little bit like that moralization that we've seen in Pike? Like, not only is alcohol bad, but it can literally
blow you up,
make you explode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Explode. That's exactly what happens.
Rum.
It was rum?
Rum at Mindy.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So yeah, rum definitely could be at the proof level. I mean, it's just not usually. Usually it's lower. So I guess they just really were pushing it with their rum selection.
Now, did she throw the rum at Mindy in the hopes that Percy would then step in front of Cal and punch him so that Cal would fall backwards into Mindy and knock her into the fire?
It is the most Rube Goldbergian
Final Destination.
Yes, indeed, yes. They all cheated death, and now this book is what the result is. Well, also, alcohol does burn with flame. So I don't know what the invisible flame idea is here, but really alcohol does have fire involved, flame involved.
I think they were saying it was like the vapor from the alcohol because her hand wasn't in the fire. It was next to the fire, but they were saying the vapors that were like the invisible vapors coming off of her arm.
Well,
that's what caught on fire.
To be like,
I don't even drink. This book was so confusing to me. They kept throwing all these different alcohol names around and talking about which ones were flammable. And I was like, dude, why do you keep having flammable liquids next to your fireplaces? What the heck's going on?
Next to a woman who caught on fire trying to save her sister who was on fire.
Well, these girls should not be allowed near naked flame or alcohol or each other.
Why are they playing this next to a fireplace? Like, really, there is so little respect for trauma in this book.
Agree. You would think one of them would just be like, hey guys, maybe this isn't the most tactful thing we've ever done. You think?
I feel like Dana would, but she's already been knocked out and is in a closet somewhere.
Yeah.
At this point.
Jesus.
Because she's the only really nice one in the story.
Poor Dana.
Okay, let's talk about, I believe, unless I missed this, the only person in the book without a last name. Cal.
Cal. A huge redhead with a massive mouth.
The antithesis of Percy.
The problem was, as soon as he was described as that, I thought, here we go, this is my favourite character. I love this guy. Next page, he's assaulting Mindy. And
yeah.
Man.
Immediately.
I was so confused on that too, because like the way she explained it at first seemed like he was literally like assaulting her, like she did not want it. But then the more they talked about it, she's like, well, it was like she liked it and she did want it. And so I was like, wait, did he just like make out with you in like a hard way? Or like, did he actually like grab you when you did not want to be grabbed? Because she kept flip-flopping and I was so confused about what actually happened or if he was bad or like.
Well, and then
what?
spent the rest of the book just pining for Cal.
Right. Yes. And I'm like, huh? Is he bad or good?
And Dana is apparently so oblivious she didn't even notice him eyeing her breasts. Which another Laura like, oh yeah, Dana's just stupid and fat. But Cal is the theoretical, like he's the number one theoretical outsider red herring villain.
He's a little shit, but then he's like, at the end, he comes in and he kind of like saves her Laura twice, I think it was. And it's like, I hate him and I'm not going to like him just because he saved her. But he did save her, so now I'm kind of conflicted.
Well, I mean, let's take it back to its bare minimum. He came across someone dying in the snow, and he didn't leave them there. So that is like the bare minimum of humanity.
Right, that's true.
Let's not say he saved her like he's a knight in with his glorious red hair.
I don't think it makes him a knight, but I definitely think it makes him less of a douchebag that we thought he was like while they were arguing. Because while he's arguing and drunk and all that stuff was going on, and he told that story and was like kind of laughing about it and like, oh, I'm such an American, I killed people.
Yeah, where he napalmed people.
Yes, dude. Yeah. He was like, oh, it took them forever to find them. Like I was like, gross, man. This guy's nasty. And when I think it was Nell who had the poker to him because she was defending Celeste at the time. I was here for that. I was like, yes, kill this fucker. He's bad. And so when he came back later, I did think that was something, because like after all that happened, I feel like if he had been a truly terrible shit, awful douche, he could have just been like, I'm not going back to that fucking cabin. Fuck this girl. Fuck all these girls. I'm drunk. Yeah. I'm going home. But he didn't. Like he went back to the cabin. He did pick up the girl. Not that makes him a great guy. I'm not saying that at all. But it changed me from thinking about how trash he was just for a tiny bit.
Especially because they made sure to add in the part that like he was returning to apologize, which again, that doesn't forgive him for what he did in the past. No. However, it does kind of make it a little bit less, I guess, bad.
Yeah. He like, I realized I was wrong. And then he even goes one step further to when he gets back to the lodge. He's like, hey, something here was fishy. Maybe somebody should go check this shit out. I'm drunk, but something didn't seem right.
There's girls setting themselves on fire over there. Come on.
There's a girl in the snow. There's a melting snowman.
Yeah,
this is wild.
I don't know what the fuck is going on at this lodge, but really, it's not good. Okay, one more character. The most pointless red herring in the whole book has to be Colonel Sanders.
Yes.
Who moved their cars.
Colonel.
And that's it. And he even gets like a 2-paragraph explanation.
Yes. I loved it. It was such a neat wrap up.
It's like, oh yeah, and see, this is why I'm not a bad guy, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. It's like, Jesus, we don't care anymore. We know who the bad guys are. You don't need to explain anymore why you're not the bad guy.
I feel like they were getting to the end and like they had already revealed the Nell thing, and he was like, oh shit, wait, there was this other guy I kind of made seem like he could be bad. I got to clean this up real fast.
Yeah. The PikeCast has to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the plot in detail. Wow, friends. Where else can you get this kind of programming than the PikeCast? Nowhere, that's where. But we're trying to keep the lights on here. If you like what you're hearing and want it to keep happening, jump over to our Patreon at thepikecast.com/Patreon and throw us a few bucks to join our private Discord server. Higher tiers get books, stickers, bookmarks, and even personalized shirts. That's thepikecast.com/Patreon.
We would like to thank our patrons of the PikeCast who enabled us to keep doing this. Desiree at Libri Labra on Twitter, Irish Moxie, Stephen Daniels, who is at Stephen T. Daniels1 on Twitter, Pamela Licata, Jack, who is at Fruit Snacks on Twitter, Jeanette, Jenny Corrivo at Audrielle Jade on Twitter, Miss Jamie Dillon on Twitter and on Insta, Nicole from Tattered Covers and Broken Spines, Katie Lilly at The Haunted Outfit on Instagram, and Crystal Squires. Thank you all to our wonderful patrons, and if you'd like to join the Piker patrons, you can do so at thepikecast.com/Patreon.
Hello, Pikers. Are you enjoying the PikeCast? Good. Do you have Pike books at home? If so, show us on social media using hashtag #ShowUsYourPike. Welcome back to the PikeCast. Now we're moving into Remember Me, which, as we always say, we did talk a lot about the plot as we talk about our characters, but now let's really break down the plot of this book. They're going skiing, but not all of them. So, like, Nell invited them to go skiing, but then doesn't want to ski. Rachel may or may not have deliberately forced Laura to crash into a tree.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Which it's never clear and not mentioned again.
But she's injured the whole book now.
Exactly. So
She
that's
was doing
interesting.
surgery on her knee.
Yeah.
Dude, I forgot about that.
But it's okay because that crash caused Percy to come to her rescue.
Because he was following them like a fucking creep.
Yeah, exactly. Because he hadn't yet decided who he wanted to hit on, I guess.
Right, he's like,
Yeah, he had to compare them from behind as they skied.
Well, and if he's comparing them from behind, we know that Rachel was wearing a skin-tight ski uniform.
Blue.
Yeah, blue skin-tight. Like, I've gone skiing, and especially when it's going to be -10 that evening, you're not wearing anything that's remotely form-showing.
Okay, if you've gone skiing then, because I've never been skiing, so was all the skiing stuff accurate, or was it just...
Yeah, I mean, really, you just get on the chairlift, go to the top, and go back down. That's really skiing. And
She was like, because she was like, oh, and then she'd bear on me from the left, and I muttered to myself. Can you hear muttering when you're going down on skis on a mountain?
No, you can't hear anything when you're going down on skis. You got to shout to each other.
Okay.
Also, you don't wear just sunglasses. You wear ski goggles because sunglasses aren't going to help.
Yeah.
And again, here's the thing. I'm a Midwesterner, so I understand snow. -10 degrees, it's not fucking snowing. Period. Snow comes usually between 20 and 35 degrees. Because it has to be warm enough for there to be moisture, and then it causes snow. But -10 degrees, nothing's happening. You don't go skiing at -10 degrees. You stay in the fucking house next to the fire that will kill somebody.
They'll make you explode.
Was it that cold for them when they were skiing? Because I thought during the day it had been like a little bit warmer, but then like at night, by the time the guy was like leaving and everything, it was nighttime and the storm was like raging, so that's why it was so cold.
I mean, even a little bit warmer. It's still like I would not go skiing below, I don't know, 20 degrees. I mean, I don't even leave the house, so it's just. I mean, I'm just being grumpy here, but it just seems unnecessarily cold, and it seems unnecessarily cold in a way that someone from a warm state. Whoa! Yes,
oh, he thinks it's cold too.
Yes,
unnecessarily cold, says Boris.
Unnecessarily cold. Well, where is this ski area? Does anyone know?
Oh, like what state? I'm not sure.
Because it seems like they're a short drive from Oakland, which is by San Francisco.
Yeah.
Which would put them in...
They're like in Tahoe or something, maybe?
Yeah, California ski country, which is also not -10 degrees.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just have problems with the meteorological implications of this book. Let me put it that way.
So would you say that this is something, because you know how Pike has those things in his books where like with the photography where he explained it step by step, like does this seem like one of those things that he knows a lot about and like personally goes skiing, or no?
I mean, I feel like he probably went skiing in California and then wanted it to be cold enough that his heroine needed to pee on her hands and looked up how cold that would need to be and just combined those two things. Like literally every time I ever went skiing in the middle of winter in Colorado, which is ski country, it was never that cold.
I just say, the hand peeing scene.
Yes.
The build up to that, I thought, was the best thing in the entire book.
I agree.
It's a sort of Hitchcockian irony in that she has a way to help herself, to rescue herself. She just needs to fire a flare gun, and her hands are so frozen that she can't pull the trigger. Absolutely brilliant. I loved that. She should have milked that for all it was worth. And then instead she sticks her hands down her pants and pees on them.
And then just in the simplest wrap up of that scene, that worked.
Yep.
Just says that worked. 2-word sentence. She peed on her hands. That worked.
So the pee just thawed her hands out completely.
Thawed them out enough that she could pull the trigger. And it even mentioned the pounds per square inch, I think, of the trigger. Like, he gets obsessed with weird things. Okay, back to the plot. We do have a Chekhov's propane.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be Chekhov's snowmobile, which it sort of is. But Chekhov's propane, where they talk about how the propane could explode and the image of something rising on a mushroom cloud formed and lingered in Laura's mind because she just basically told us the house is going to blow up by the end.
Which, again, sort of tying in with the cover of the UK one, is sort of mild spoilers for Stephen King's The Shining here, but that's Chekhov's boiler down in the basement.
Yep, Chekhov's boiler, indeed.
Absolutely, well known.
Watson's boiler, in fact.
So yeah, it's a sort of tie-in with the Shining, I guess.
There are a lot of influences for Stephen King's book in this one, just not just The Shining, but like Carrie, and you can say more of them if there are more.
Well, and then The Exorcist is also involved because they talk about Captain Howdy. So it's not even just a mild reference of the Exorcist. It's specifically, hey, let's talk about Captain Howdy.
So they're just classic horror fans. I love it.
Well, I mean, Pike is a classic horror fan, you know.
Oh, well, yeah. No, I mean, I don't think these Mindy over here reading these books. Cal. To be fair, though, actually, wasn't it? Wait, didn't one of them, the little girl, didn't she say she had read all of the books or something like that? Because she saw the other one reading it?
Yeah, Celeste met Lara in the library, and Lara was flipping through the dust cover of a Stephen King book.
Yeah, and then when she asked her about it, yeah, Celeste said she had read them. That's good. I like that. So,
and she said she doesn't have nightmares about that.
No, which, I mean, if I'd been lit on fire, that wasn't right. If I had been
if you had been lit, it would be.
If you had
I would have had a lot more. Yeah, if I had just exploded and my guts had been all over everybody, and then I had survived in the hospital for only one more week, and then come back 8 years later to go skiing. Just kidding. Never mind. My back's too sore for that. That was such a weird thing too. It's just her whole thing about the back. Like, what a misleading, like a deception. Like, there's nothing wrong with her back other than being covered in scars.
I was in a car accident, so I can't ski.
Yeah, that didn't click in my head until you guys were talking about it. That, like, the back injury was probably from exploding.
Yeah, and they mentioned all that in the beginning, and so what's funny is my brain was trying to fill in things that weren't there. So I had this whole side plot where this was a different little girl, unrelated to these girls, who was driving with her family, and somehow these girls caused her family to get into a wreck, so she got hurt, her parents died. And I was like, now she's coming back to claim them as her victims, but then that didn't happen. That was never a thing. She was some burned girl from long ago that I didn't expect because I thought she was dead.
I felt like another thing that you gotta do fan fiction about Cassie, because I would love to read that.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a list.
We're gonna have our listeners want to hear your version of the story and David's version of the story where they're much older.
More dogs.
more so than
Yes.
this one. With
There are
more dogs. No,
It's
but
a Final Destination sequel.
you
Yes.
know, in the 80s, the dogs died a lot. So I don't want more dogs in the books if the dogs are going to die.
Plastic.
No dog
Because,
die.
so I don't want that. I would rather not have dogs in the books entirely than have one die.
That's fair.
Okay, so she's set on fire, Nicole. She goes to the hospital. Dad decides that she's going to live with her aunt and pretend she died.
Because they're so ashamed of having her, that thing as a daughter, I think they say, isn't it?
Oh, so the parents were hiding her.
I think so.
Literally hiding. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think they were hiding her like completely, because she said she just had, anytime that they went out, she had to wear complete covering clothes, even in summer, like even if it was like hot out.
Yeah.
And I don't think she went to the aunt's house until she got a little bit older. And then she was able to go back to school, because I think the aunt lived where they used to live, and that's how she was able to like meet up with the other girls later on.
It just seems needlessly complicated.
No, agreed.
It says something that none of us have a clear idea of what was happening here.
There was so much tossed in. Like, I mean, even her aunt calls back to the house and is like, how is Celeste doing? She doesn't say, how is Nicole doing?
Yeah.
Even if she knows her as Nicole. That's so bizarre.
Maybe she supported the new identity.
Maybe. Fair.
One thing about that, though, is Laura seems to have really, really liked Nicole, which doesn't make a lot of sense and isn't really supportive by the narrative, but doesn't recognize that her eyes were this bright, vivid emerald green, like Celeste's, because that didn't change.
Did she really like Nicole?
Well, she said she loved Nicole, like literally, and Nicole was the most beautiful of all of them, and she would never, like, she looked into Nicole's eyes as she thought she died. But then doesn't recognize those eyes 8 years later. I don't know. It feels...
It would have made more sense had they, and it's daft to go through a book and say what they should have done, but I just feel like if they hadn't set Nell on fire and they just set Nicole on fire and she'd exploded like the Molotov cocktail and then she'd had loads of plastic surgery and come back as Celeste, that would have worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, because having one girl with a totally unrecognizable but normal face and then another one who looks like plastic, like why? They got injured at the same time. You would have thought that they would have gotten taken care of by the same doctors, by the same teams. Like, why does one of them look totally okay but different?
This is going to be another one of my tangents, which it's sort of like Troy on Community deciding the best way to put out a flaming troll doll is to eat it.
I haven't seen that one either.
Nothing.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Why do you hang out with us, Cooper?
I feel like I need to just give everybody a syllabus.
Prepare us for the next episode.
Tell us all the references you'll make.
Okay, let's talk about our enemies. The eternal enemy, our antagonists. Nell and Nicole are the antagonists throughout.
I feel like Nell is the real antagonist.
Nell is the bad guy, yeah.
She's the puppet master, yeah.
And the amount of monologuing that happens there.
I love the villain monologue, though. I was there. I loved it. I was like, yes, this is the moment.
You're on board with the monologue?
I love it. It's so like, it's so villainy and like, it's what are you here for doing a mastermind thing if you're not going to make me listen and suffer through the explanation at the end? Come on.
That's true. See, this is the juicy part. You're all pissing in your pants. But I wanted revenge to last, where I could savor it. I wanted to haunt you. With a hand torch while Rachel and Dana were cleaning out this basement, I melted the snowman. Like, really? What? I mean...
I'm sorry, but what a thing. I melted the snowman.
I melted. Took 2 minutes. And it was I who knocked out Dana and slid down the path on your previous treks and planted the ski and melted the snow and threw in a bag of ash and bones from an old barbecue.
Oh my God. So extra.
Why is that snowman so important?
They mention it and then it's like, this is the scarf that the snowman used.
No. And I mean, here's our tangents. We go way afield with the Carrie references. Why do we need to think this is spontaneous human combustion or a Carrie telekinesis thing?
Because it makes the book more exciting. Wouldn't it be better if it was telekinesis?
But
any of us could explode at any moment, Cooper, even in the snow.
Okay. But since it's not, isn't it just like a Scooby-Doo thing then? It's like, oh no, there weren't any ghosts. It's just Old Man Withers.
And Nell would have got away with it if it wasn't for the meddling kids.
Yeah, she would have.
I just think it's like crazy that Nell actually convinced Nicole that Laura didn't throw brandy on her. She in fact threw gasoline. Like there would actually be gasoline just chilling there. Like they say at the end, and it's like...
Yeah, they even asked that. It's like, why would there be gasoline in your living room?
She believed that for 8 years.
She's 6 years old. She's just a little hurt girl, like who she doesn't get any friends. She can't see anybody. Her family takes her away, and all she has is her sister, like staying up with her, reading stories at night. Like her sister's bad. Like she was the evil one in that room, and she just poisoned her. And that part was so sad to me. Like I know this is a fun, joking book, but like... Oh, I felt so bad for that little girl. Like she was injured and like she had nothing except this person poisoning her slowly over 8 years. And she still was a good person. Like at the end, like, oh.
So you don't think she would have at least questioned it a little bit when she got older though?
I don't know. Like she was so twisted at that point. Like even she started making herself remember things differently. Like she's like, oh, I made this name because I had this beautiful dress and it reminded me of this. And she's like, oh, but then I got that dress ruined and wet. And she's like, wait a minute, actually my sister is a dick and she threw me in the pool and got that dress wet. It's just so wild to me that I don't know. I kind of had respect for her as a character that she was able to disentangle herself enough to overcome her sister at the end.
Mm-hmm. We do have a bit of slightly problematic body horror when Nicole reveals herself. It's a great moment, even as it being problematic, because, I mean, this poor girl was set on fire. Scars of a decade of constant surgery were there, swollen and convoluted, red flesh stitched together with only thought for a chance for life, not for what that life may have to be like. Grotesque lumps were her breasts. A tight band of knotted tissue was her abdomen. No nipples, no belly button. A touch would bring pain. I've never gone out with a boy. The sight brought revulsion. That's a good paragraph.
But then it gets worse, doesn't it? She talks about taking the rest of her clothes off or something, and it's even worse.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the line. I don't think I wrote it down, but it's pretty grim. It worked, that scene.
It did. And even the monologuing that I make fun of, it's because we don't need everything explained.
Yes.
But it is cool when the villain is so proud of their machinations that they want to tell us all about it.
I think that's why I like it, because they're just like, look at everything I've done. And then it's immediately countered by the hero usually winning. And it's just like, haha, you had a chance to do it and you still lost. You look like a dummy. Like, I don't know. I like it.
And also normally the look at what I've done isn't I melted a snowman with a blowtorch.
Let me lead my big climactic speech with, it took me 2 minutes to melt a snowman with a blowtorch.
See, I thought really it was going to be at some point the snowman would melt and they'd find one of the dead bodies in it.
Now that would have been awesome.
That's what I thought was coming. Just from the cover, I thought, oh, there's going to be a body in there. But, no.
But in reality, they don't get away with killing anybody.
Nobody dies.
Nicole doesn't die, right?
Yeah.
Nell does.
Yes.
Nell dies at the end, yeah.
And
I must say, speaking of dying, though, there was one actual moment in you know that middle chapter where it is the flashback, and the book suddenly sort of kicks into life for the first time, and it's actually like quite an interesting, exciting scene. And then it ends with Nicole looking at Lara and just sort of she's on fire and she looks with her one good eye or something, and it says, "I'm going to die." But that was quite heartbreaking, actually, that moment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is why I'm like, that poor girl.
Well, yeah, with a single bloodshot hazel eye. Oh, yeah, that was quite sad. It also suggests the rest of her face is on fire, but clearly it's not.
Yeah, I can't understand how her face was not on fire.
I think it must have been too, because when the dad comes down, which they point out the dad came down in his underwear. Why did you mention that? Like, that's so weird. But he comes down in his underwear and he's like taking her pulse in her neck, and they say, I don't remember the exact line, but they're like the part of her flesh that wasn't scarred or burned by the fire or something like that, like just this portion of her neck. Why is her plastic surgery so much better than her sister's? I'd be pissed if I were Nell.
Maybe that's why Nell hates her so much.
Maybe.
She got the good plastic surgery.
Dude, I'd be mad.
And she was the favorite.
She was supposed to be beautiful, yeah.
But Cassie, you bring up a good point. If you are a dad and there is a slumber party happening, you sleep in pajama pants.
Yes, put some pants on before you
with
flee your
underwear,
room.
Because we also don't want that flopping dick under the pajama pants thing.
No. Yeah, we don't.
That's not cool, Dad. Not cool.
I'm cringing at the words flopping dick right now.
I'm sorry I triggered you.
Oh, it's okay. I'm just not really here for dads with flopping dicks.
Flop.
No,
that's fair. I'm just every now and then flop.
You're giving me flashbacks to this very moment.
I'm sitting here thinking, my mom's going to listen to this. Oh, God.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, wait, I'm not the one that said floppy dick. It was Cooper.
Yeah, I said that.
Right.
I'll take credit. Speaking of flopping dicks, let's move on to Thirst, which is our section about titillation and sexuality in Pike's world.
Dave's mom can turn it off right now.
What?
Dave's mom can just fast forward through this part.
And Boris, don't listen. We got
cover your ears. Cover little Boris's ears.
What I find amusing about this section in this book is because it's a point horror book, it's definitely a neutered version of Pike's sexuality, but he pushes along the margins in such a gleefully know what I mean way. I really enjoyed his needlessly perverted shit. Like when Lara makes the joke about how she could have done worse, biting instead of biting his tongue, she could have done worse. That's it's like, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, Laura, you're wicked. You're wicked.
As a kid, if I did not read this one when I was younger, but if I had, I think that would have gone completely over my head. Like, I don't think I would have even gotten that joke. And like, she's even like, he didn't get my joke. And I was like, I would have been like, wait, what joke? Hang on.
I was quite surprised, actually, how much sort of vague references there was. Lara talked about meeting the boys in just her underwear, and she wears a bizarre-sounding shirt that would be indecent if it wasn't for two pockets, I guess.
Yeah, what in the hell was that?
I guess it's see-through, but the pockets are over the breasts? Is that right?
So, well, because sometimes, so speaking as a personal experience who has shirts like these, when you wear like a little spaghetti strap type shirt underneath, it's totally like normal. So my guess is that she only had her, or maybe no bra on, or just only a bra. And then, but they do have like the pockets, and then like they're usually kind of button up shirts too. And then the pockets just do lie over your, boobs, so that if you are not well endowed, you don't have to wear a bra, and you could just, fly free and be happy and comfy. I don't know how her body looks or anything, or whether she was wearing a bra or not, but you usually wear something underneath it, like something just a little bit. So yeah, it wasn't
that explains that.
Yeah, she was doing it intentionally to be sexy. I think she was like, I'm not going to wear anything underneath this. He can see what he sees when I turn.
Wait, so there's a pocket on both sides?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I have a question for the ladies.
Yes.
Because there is a line here. What are you going to say? You won't get to first base unless you call off the party. Have you, ladies, ever used the baseball metaphor for sex?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. I
don't think
never
the guys
encountered
ever used it at
a
me.
single woman who used the baseball metaphor for sex. All the guys, yeah, absolutely. But never a single woman.
I don't understand how it works. Like, even when I was younger, I don't get what the bases are.
The first base.
First base is generally being felt. Oh, okay. I was going to say being felt up.
I thought first base was kissing too.
Yeah, I thought kissing, and then second base would be.
See, this is maybe why we have different ideas.
Well, okay.
Maybe we don't know baseball, apparently.
I know. I'm not a sports
home run is sex.
Okay.
Yeah, no, okay. We can
sense.
all agree on the home run. Yeah.
So
what's the second and third base? I'm Scottish. I don't even know how
I feel like
baseball
second
works.
would be like
feeling up over the clothes. I thought, like, not underneath the clothes, and then I thought third base was like in the clothes.
I was thinking maybe third base is like a blowjob or something, like oral sex.
Oh, how many bases are there?
Oh shit!
Baseball?
Is
There
there 4?
are 4.
Oh my bad. Okay, fourth base
is home. No.
Oh, four is home.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I always used to say blowjob is an inside the park home run.
So if you're playing baseball with me, apparently you would not get anywhere. There's like I'm like on base 6, and you still have all your clothes on. So
respect.
So what this definitely tells me is the girls are not the ones saying you're not going to get to first base.
No, not these girls anyways. Maybe there are some girls out there. And if any of our listeners are, no shade to you, you use whatever language you want. I just personally
if you like baseball,
have never used that.
Do you, bro.
Yes. Baseball, basketball.
Yeah.
Tweet at us about it.
Tell us the bases. We need to know.
Tell us what you think the bases are. And if there are any other sports analogies, like does basketball have a thing that's similar to base? Like baskets? How many baskets did you throw? No, I don't think so.
I've never heard that. No. We're back to thirst. I like that Rachel feels she's being somehow saucy when she asks if someone knows strip poker.
Do you know strip poker?
As though strip poker has legit rules, like because it doesn't. It's just whatever, at some point people are going to get naked because I won. Now take off your shirt. There are no rules for strip, but do you know strip poker? Have you ever heard of strip poker?
The bad girls in Pike's books are always so confident, and I'm like, I'm so envious of it. Like, this girl just comes in, boobs like free, and she's like with her turtleneck, and she's like, you know about strip poker? Wiggle, wiggle. And I'm like, what? Like, I could not in a million years imagine ever doing this to a person. Like, I just want to blush picturing myself trying to come on to somebody like that. Like, it's such an Alexa Close thing to do, and I love it.
Well, you have set this up. This is a paragraph on Rachel's sexuality here. Rachel would flash her ultra bright smile when he looked at her, run her sharp nails through her golden hair, and accidentally brush his leg when she sat beside him, laugh deep and sexy in her throat, and lean into her side with her firm breasts when he told a joke. Let her crystal blue eyes slip from his spellbound stare to his crotch, letting him know that with her, possibilities were endless. Percy would come a-runnin'.
It's amazing. And I really I want to be her and be that, because I picture me walking into this room, tripping, falling on the ground, giggling, snorting because I've giggled, and then turning red, and then tripping over, being like, oh, I'm so sorry, I fell. Oh God, I'm so sorry. Like, I
assume at some point setting someone on fire accidentally.
Yes, burning everybody, the whole thing.
I mean, Cassie, really, you did just claim the Zooey Deschanel role, which,
yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's a sexy role.
I feel there are people that will like that, I think, but the kind of people I still think I would rather personally be like a badass that walks in and is like, I know I've got the goods, you want them, like that. It's such a
Laura
cool vibe.
thinks she might wait till they were all asleep and then tiptoe stark naked to where Percy was sleeping and ask him to scratch an itch that she couldn't quite reach.
So her elbow?
Yes,
right?
yes,
Like where?
exactly.
I got this right here on my back. It's just, I really can't. And then when she gets the scratch. She's like, thanks, bro. And she walks away and goes back to her room.
Now that is 100% me. Like, please scratch my back.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
I love
some often back scratching better than sex.
Yes.
We do have a bit of moralizing here, and the use of "done it" from Laura. She had never done it before. Had always thought girls who did it on the spur of the moment without protection were fools.
So judgy.
But immediately she suddenly found herself wanting to. So,
In the
but this
snow.
is again outside in negative 10 degrees here. So, I don't know if anything can quell Laura's libido.
Also, just I feel like we have to mention the fact that someone suggests. Back to the snowman. Someone suggests the snowman melted because he saw a nude female snowman.
Yes.
Oh,
the
girl snowman.
Yeah, that's what caused the snowman to melt was a naked. So I guess with a naked snowman, you just don't put the lumps of coal buttons, and then the snowman's naked, or maybe take the hat off. I don't know what makes it naked. It is just the implication of clothes.
I mean, no scarf. Did we mention the scarf?
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know. Naked with a scarf is pretty hot, especially if it's negative 10 degrees. You really want to be naked with a scarf.
I don't even know how. Look, I'm from Florida, and now I live in California. Scarves are not a part of my wardrobe. I'll have those little sheer shirts with pocket boobies, but no scarves.
Well, the two of Becca and I are from the Midwest over here.
Yeah, I have.
What's it like in Scotland, David?
It's fucking freezing, man.
There we go. Okay.
Raining, it's windy. I do centigrade, not Fahrenheit, so I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Let's see, negative 10 Fahrenheit is negative 23.
Right.
So negative 23 degrees, they want to have sex out in the snow.
Yeah, no, you'd be dead.
Yeah. Like very quickly, too.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
You'll have to pee on your hands after having sex because they'll be frozen.
You will. You'll have to pee on
before
everything.
and after.
Yeah.
Everything.
They were all peeing. Did they not say Dana also ruined a perfectly fine pair of trousers or something?
Yeah, everyone's peeing in their pants.
Only one person did it on their hands, though.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Only one. But she did also pee on her pants, I think. So like she peed on her hands, in her pants, so on her pants.
I wonder if it froze before Cal picked her up from the snow.
Well, yeah, that's the problem, is you only get a moment, really, of relief there, because it is liquid and it will freeze.
Wait, is it, okay, this is just a scientific thing I'm asking as a question, a real thing. It doesn't have to be in the episode. If you're peeing and it's very cold outside, could it freeze while it's peeing? Really?
Well, like you saw all the people who did that, like when it was really cold, who did that thing where they throw hot water and it bursts into steam.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can freeze like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's from Sweden, and they used to say that when it was really cold, you could spit and it would freeze before it hit the ground and then shatter.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so note to self: we'll never just whip it out and pee outside when it's snowing. I mean, well, that's not something I would do anyway.
I do have to question that. How often do you whip it out to pee in the first place?
I just meant for our listeners, anybody who does that sort of thing.
This is a more segment.
Yes.
Where our listeners shouldn't, in negative 10 degrees, whip it out to pee.
Yep, and I've got the rainbow here. I'm just flashing my hair. The more you know.
Okay, good. Okay. There's no section for this, but I really, really, really had a problem with Laura's desperation to have a relationship. So I guess it goes in thirst. Like I actually wrote "keep your dick in your pants, Laura," because she was saying she was still roller coasting in the infatuation stage, but she had crested a peak and could see a glimmer of light in the distance that said maybe there was something real here. She met him an hour ago at this point.
And just that, but it says their one discussion that they've had in the cafe was about, and I quote, snow and skiing. Their relationship so far has been a very boring sounding chat. And she's in love with him.
And no, and really, I mean, this is so junior high right here. When she says, "What the hell? Bare her heart for everyone to see. I like you," she whispered. Like,
God.
Okay, yeah, that's really, that's like, boy, way to step out on the limb there. I like you. And of course, he likes her back. And then she says, "Really? No, you don't. Don't you like other girls and sexy girls and Rachel?" It's like, oh, shut up. Shut up. But then there's this. Daydreaming had spun in her head a book-length, soon-to-be affair with Percy. He would call her when she returned home, ask her out, pick her up in a Porsche, take her out to an expensive restaurant and order lobster, then to the theater, kissing her passionately in his leather-upholstered seats afterward, promising that he would see her the following day, and the day after that. She was still working on The Castle in the Sky and the Happily Ever After chapters. It was incredible, the material an innocent half-hour conversation could generate. Ashamed to kiss it all goodbye without even having gotten to kiss Percy, merely to appease Rachel.
She doesn't sound like somebody who has ever had a date or a boyfriend. I don't believe
she had a
that
date
6 weeks.
6 weeks ago. She had a date with somebody.
I feel like she's lying.
I feel like she's lying to herself.
That doesn't make any sense. Like, who? I can't even, like, she's 17. I can't even imagine, like, feeling that or thinking those things when I'm, like, 13. Like, that's such a ridiculous, like, way to be thinking after you meet somebody over a bowl of oranges and apples. Like,
yeah.
It's so silly.
Oh, I just remembered this come on line, which is, are you looking for a soft one or a hard one?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I know.
More. Percy.
My guts are cringing at it. It's awful.
That doesn't get you going? Cassie?
No, definitely not. Not that. Not the negative 10 degrees. No part of this. And I don't know what's wrong with Laura, that this is her thing. You know what? We don't kink shame here. So Laura, if that is your thing, that's fine. The more power to you. But for me personally, as a human, no.
So you think maybe it is just a kink that she wants an obnoxiously shallow relationship?
Maybe she really associates like fire and warmth with negative memories. So she's like, negative 10 degrees. Oh God, the snow. And she just really likes it. And she's super there for it. And she feels those cold oranges and she's like, this is it. This is happening for me now.
Wow. Yeah. So we also have this, not enough to keep me away from you, Laura thought. This was not a crush. It was an obsession.
No arguments.
Obsession. No arguments at all. Jesus.
Calls it like we sees it.
Okay, shall we move on to the moralizing and problematic section?
Yeah.
Die Softly. It's about the less good stuff. Okay.
So I have a whole ass complaint, okay?
Okay, yeah, hit us.
So
use your whole ass.
I will
Come
use
on.
my whole ass on this because I have some issues with Laura, which kind of goes with the character part, but more I wanted to wait for this part because her whole thing. Okay, so Dana says that Kel assaulted her or whatever, right?
Right.
Okay. So Laura throughout the book is like, well, I'm just gonna lie and say that she liked it more than she wanted or than she acted, so that Percy will come with his friend. And I just want to say, what a shitty fucking friend. Okay.
I mean, specifically, she tells Cal she likes aggressive men. So not only did she like it more than she let on, but she wants you to do it again.
God, I hate it so much. Like the whole...
Yeah, that is
really rude.
Yeah.
That is
like
really
unsafe.
shitty. Yeah.
That's the worst part of the book.
Yes. And what throws me off is at the end, is he in Dana's van? Because she's like, oh, no, he's not. But she's like looking up at the lights.
Honestly, I don't know what happened at the end because everybody was in Dana's van except Mom. But she was going home with Mom. Like, I don't know what happened there because literally the last line is, with the exception of her mother, they all rode home in the back of Dana's van. Never a dull moment. What?
Right. Laura really angered me because that's like...
I don't believe Kel was there.
Okay.
But maybe?
Because, like, that's what it made it sound like, because what's her name? Mindy is like, is he in the van? And then she's like, oh, and then Dana seems to be intrigued by the lights at that very moment. As if she's, like, hiding something. Like, yes, he is in the van, but I'm not going to say it.
It sounded like
No, he's
I
not.
think they were just all so
not get
annoyed by
Mindy in the
her.
van.
It's Schrodinger's Cal. Schrodinger's Cal. We don't know if he's in the van until we observe it. Crickets. Yes. Okay. More moralizing. I don't like alcohol, Laura said. That's because you've never been drunk, Rachel said.
I loved them explaining what drunk was, though. Like, that was such like a 12-year-old girl thing, you know? Like,
it means you're hungover and you can't drive.
Yeah, it means you've got a headache. And she's like, no, it doesn't. It means you laugh a lot. Woo! And I just get out.
I mean, this one is mild when it comes to problematic, but their gypsy parlor took only a few minutes to prepare.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a part where I think very near the start, where they're talking about Nell, who's been in a horrible accident and has burns, and Lara says she could have been beautiful.
Oh,
which
it
struck me as a bit of a
ick
thing.
So rude.
Laura really is judgy about all her friends.
She is.
Well, I mean, at the very end, she decides to escape by herself because she doesn't trust any of her friends.
Well, I mean, honestly, I didn't trust any of her friends either at this point. It's just everybody's a suspect. Oh, yeah. You remember last episode where we said he does, I forgot his name, Kevin, I think, does the, hey, sexy stuff. Just kidding, unless you're into that.
Yeah.
Laura actually has a similar thing here. I better get dressed. Can't compete with Rachel in my underwear, or maybe that's what it'll take. Just kidding. It's not the same, obviously, but I found that amusing. And I do find the stuff about Cal napalming Crouch soldiers.
Oh, God, yeah.
Dude, this is...
I can't even find the time frame for this happening. I don't understand.
We still don't know how old that guy really is either. Like Cal, like they said he was in like the military or whatever he was there for 2 years, right? And but he had been in the military overall longer, but just in that place for 2 years. And it was just, there are so many strange little like war stories throughout these books that I'm like, who did you hear? Do you have a war buddy? Like, was Christopher Pike in the military or something? Like, where this one and the one from Monster, right? Like that one guy.
Yeah.
These things are so strange. Yeah. It's just, it seems too, it just doesn't seem like things that he just picked out of nowhere. Like he heard things
100%. I'm sure he heard someone do that or say that or something like that. Because that it is way too specific to have just come out of someone's head.
Yeah.
And way too odd and off-putting. Like, you don't have to really overdo the red herring. Cal's also abusive and lecherous. That's enough. He's red herring already. He didn't need to accidentally napalm Germans in some war.
In the Vietnam War? Like the German.
So this was 85. Yeah, there's no way it was even Vietnam. What was happening in the early 80s where he'd napalm Germans?
The Falklands War? I don't know.
So strange.
Well, let's go into the season of passage where we talk about the best and worst writing in the book. Who wants to go first?
I honestly have nothing, so it's all you guys.
No, I mean, because I was reading the PDF of it, so it was hard for me. I took 3 pictures with my phone of the screen, and all 3 of them were fat shaming quotes. And I think we covered like the anorexia one, and then the where she was making fun of her. She's like, "You need your nourishment, or you'll starve that cute double chin of yours." And I was like, "Damn, bitch, that's rude."
Right.
Yeah, what the fuck there? Yeah.
Leave my happy little chins alone. And then the other one about her like built-in shock absorbers because she's making fun of her ass. And I'm like, she just fell on her ass and you're going to tease her? Like, you're so rude. So that was my like worst. And it's just problematic. You know, it's not like worst of his writing. It was stuff I didn't like.
Well, I've got some best. because there is flashes of real brilliance in here.
I'm so glad you found
The
it.
brief crimson dawn faltered and died. The returning darkness was devastating. After she shoots the flare. I really like that.
Huh, I don't remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Cooper always finds these really good ones, and meanwhile, I'm like, what do you mean she peed on her hands? Like, what?
I mean, seriously, I highlight so much of the book and then have to go through and say, why would I highlight that? Why does that matter to me? So, yeah, I find good ones because I have to cut out half of my bullshit. This one's good. Yet already she was sinking, gliding gently down a dark well with the promise of a wet bottom where all images of fire and ash would be washed clean.
I had that written down as bad line almost because the way I read it, I don't know if the comma in the UK printing was a bit off, but it looked like a full stop, so it said she was sinking, gliding gently down a dark well with the promise of a wet bottom. And that was what I read.
Well, I mean, she did pee herself, so it's not just the promise of a wet bottom. It's the fact.
Delivered.
There is a very interesting moment when the clock strikes midnight. Laura thinks time to take off our masks and show who was behind Rachel's sensual lips, Celeste's haunting eyes, and Nell's plastic features. It's such a weird, out of no place, like, unmask everybody, it's midnight, let the dance macabre begin. It's so odd.
It's another callback to The Shining, isn't it? That's how I took it.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, totally, now that you mention it, yeah. Okay, I'm going to hit some Pikeisms before I get into the worst. I feel personally vindicated by this book because of this line. She had read in Cosmopolitan that men found women with huge appetites sexy.
When I read that, I was like, Cooper's going to love this line.
I love the same thing.
My perplexing attraction to women just eating the hell out of stuff. Just right there. Boom. Cosmo says it's true. We do have the Pikeism about being an actress, where Rachel is going to be an actress when she grows up. We have a brief mention of cocaine and heroin.
Yeah, I wrote that down for you.
Because Nell's house was originally owned by a Vegas mafioso who had used it to store huge quantities of cocaine and heroin.
Just a much more interesting story than what we got.
They even found his bones in the fireplace.
I would have loved to read that
Me
story.
too.
It's so out there, out of nowhere. And now we got some of the worst. The flimsy pink shirt we've already spoken about. Even from an occult point of view, you're standing on, forgive the pun, thin ice. For fuck's sake. But this one's my favorite. It's just because of how absolutely mild it is. This is about Cal. There were really no two ways about it. He was a jerk. Just like, oh, okay. I mean, sure, yeah. It's just so low-key and mild for this character that we're supposed to dislike, really.
Well, I've got this one. I had it written as a good line, and then I thought about it, and I changed it to a bad line.
Okay.
You be the judge, please. Celeste looked at the ground. It seemed as though an envelope of sorrow had enfolded her. And I don't know if it was just slim pickings in the book, but I was like, that's
I feel like that is one of those lines that people who are good writers write early in their career before they've quite figured out how to be good writers.
Before they understand that people are going to picture a gigantic envelope actually unfolding for less.
Just an enormous envelope on the ground.
There was one line from Percy, of all people, that actually made me genuinely laugh, and it was just where he says, When I see Cal, I'll be sure to hit him again. I thought, okay, that's the first time he's shown a bit of personality.
He's actually pretty likable there.
Well, let's not go too far. But yeah,
okay, you're right. You're right. I was out of control.
My main problem was, and again, you're talking about authors, their first book. Basically, when an author, it's their first novel, I'd say, and instead of writing "he smiled," they'll write something like "the corner of his lips trembled upwards into something resembling a happy grimace."
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of saying it was really far away, he says, "The miles they would have to master did not appear an easy proposition." It isn't even easy to read. Oh, I hate that. I hate it.
Hemingway would have been so pissed.
There was one, because, by this point, about 3/4 into the book, all anyone's been doing is bickering about boys. So there's this little moment of doom-laden pretentiousness that I liked. Lara stared at her own face, which reflected like a lifeless shadow in the icy black window. That's how she would look when she was dead.
I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I thought that was finally, just injecting a little bit of drama into the proceedings.
Yeah.
And then also I hated that the last line was never a dull moment, which I didn't... I mean, there's plenty, but also it's a callback to that line being used at the end of the cafe scene. Did you realise that?
I didn't realise that was a callback.
Yeah,
I hate it.
At the end of that dreadful scene where they talk about snow and skiing, Rachel comes along and they have a bit of a chat, and then Lara goes, "Never a dull moment." And then,
God.
What a way to end your book with the word "dull" as the second.
Well, I think that's as good a time as any to move into the last act, where we give our final thoughts and ratings out of 5 pikes. And David, as you are our guest, you can go first.
Now, see, when you say pike, are you referring to like the medieval sort of spike?
Yes.
Because see, over here, when I think of a pike, I think of a really long fish.
Oh, we have those too. They're just less interesting.
In the first episode, when you're talking about heads impaled on pikes, it took me a moment to realize you weren't talking about fish.
Well, no, it's the fish right through the head. I mean, I thought that was clear.
What a strange mental image compared, like with what some of mine too, like the impaled ones and the pike in the middle of the crater lake.
Yeah.
I guess that one actually made sense.
So I didn't hate the book as much as it probably sounds like I did. It's perfectly inoffensive for the most part. I was trying to contextualize it as I was reading and putting it in the sort of time that it was written, what was happening in the world of horror at that time. So it was like the end of the slasher period, and things were going into more comedy, horror sort of stuff. It didn't really fit anywhere. It felt kind of like a book out of time, almost like it was written 10 years before or something. It's pretty dull, it's pretty bland. It really comes alive in that middle section, that flashback, with the idea of someone accidentally, thinking they're going to help and pouring liquid, because it's just a child pouring liquid on someone to put them out, and then they go up in flames. That's genuinely a great idea. I think I really like that. That scene is powerful. It dawdles along for the rest of the time, and then I enjoyed the end. For me, it's a 2 pikes. It is 2. It's nowhere near a one pike thing. It's fine, and you know what? I don't really read much YA, so it's hard for me to put it in context of other YA books. I'm saying it's a 2. It was fine. It's 110 pages or so. You could read it in an afternoon, although it took me about 3 weeks because it was boring as shit as well. But no, it's fine. 2 pikes.
2. Okay. Becca?
I am going to go with 2 exploding pikes.
Exploding?
Yes,
oh.
they're going to...
Guts everywhere or exploding
in
flame?
No, it's going to... I want some guts.
So maybe yours are fish.
Yeah. I don't want to explode a fish.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Maybe it explodes. Maybe it explodes, and then the little things that pop out instead of guts are just happy little fish that They don't need water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
So
you.
they're just
Definitely.
fish. They're all safe.
I want everyone to have that image in their mind when I talk about 2 exploding pikes.
Okay.
So I don't have anything really deep to add to this. There are things I did like I was telling Cooper before we recorded, that I really did like the references to The Exorcist and to Carrie. So I mean, I'm always like, if there's a reference to something, I'm probably gonna be happy about it. I do not like how he addressed the assault with Dana. So that part kind of threw me down, and the fact that this book is kind of bland in general. But, and I feel like, okay, with the Slumber Party, like, I love Slumber Party themed things, like Slumber Party Massacre, and I feel like he could have done better with that setting in mind.
By actually having a real slumber
Yes,
party.
exactly.
Going on, probably.
So, like, I don't know, like, I guess it's just more bland than anything, which is why I'm not giving it a high score. I mean, 2 is fine. 2 is fine. It's not, like, the worst thing ever, but it wasn't the greatest thing ever. So
I know. I think that should be your pull quote on the cover, not the goodest thing.
I just feel like saying great makes it sound even better, but goodest is like
yeah, right.
mediocre, you know, like it's the goodest. I'm done.
Thoroughly mediocre.
Yes.
Cassie, what are you giving it?
So I think I liked it more than everybody else. So I give it 3 pikes sticking out of a partially melted snowman. And they're not fish; they're sticks. They're stick pikes.
Yes, okay.
Because I feel like fish might get cold.
We do have to clarify that. Yes.
Yeah. I liked it. I think like there were problematic things that I did not like in it. But so far I could say that about any of his books. And so for the base story, I thought it was just basic, fun, like for a 13-year-old who's getting into like thrillers and stuff like that. I think that's a really good introductory book. And I like it because it is his first, and I can see where he grew. Like you can see where he got better, where he decided, oh, that's probably not the best way I could have done that. And he improved. So I like it for what it is. It's pretty middle of the ground, but honestly, I like this one more than I like the Midnight Club. So yeah, this one, there was fire and you know, kind of gross stuff happening. Yeah.
Melting
and almost,
snowmen.
And they got closer to sex in -10 degrees than they did in the hospice.
Yes.
So I'm just, I can't hang with Midnight Club, but this one I give 3 pikes in the melting snowman. So yeah.
Well,
Cooper?
I'm gonna, you know, I always feel like I shouldn't give the same number as other people, but I really think yes, this is a 2 for me. I will jam Snowman on one of them, just the head though, just the snowman head, and it's on fire. Yeah.
Oh.
So it's melting down the pike.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, it was inoffensive and just bland, and really I feel like if I start rereading those other point horrors, I'm going to encounter a lot of this just melodrama that wants to be Agatha Christie but isn't. And that's okay, because I loved point horror when I was the age to love point horror. And that's okay. But yeah, I doubt I will be rereading Slumber Party again in my life. I know I read it once upon a time, even though I have no memory of it. So that says something. Okay. David, thank you so much for joining us. Boris, thank you for joining us too.
We love you, Boris. We love you too. But
I'm the afterthought.
No,
we also love David, not just Boris.
We do, but you know how I am with puppies. Come on.
Yeah. So, David, where can our listeners find you online? And do you have anything you want to tell them to go out and buy?
Well, my new book, Maggie's Grave, is out now. It's a blood-drenched folk horror tale set in the Scottish Highlands. If you're interested in the pictures of my dog, Boris, a lovely pug, very handsome, then go to Instagram, which is at Paperbacks and Pugs. And if you prefer reviews of very strange 70s horror films that are gross and sexy, then go to at Paperbacks Pugs on Twitter. That's no A or D in and, because Twitter is fucking weird, man.
Yeah. Becca, how about you?
Yes, I have a blog, which is astoldbybex.wordpress.com, where I mostly talk about books. I have Twitter, which is As Told by Bex, and Instagram, which is Read with Bex.
And Cassie?
My blog is letsgetgalactic.com, and my Instagram is at Reading in a Prism. I also have a personal Instagram that is at ControlAltCassie, so it's CTRLALTCASSIE, and that's the same as my Twitter name. And I also have an art shop where I sell a bunch of things like bookmarks, art prints, and books, and it's letsgetgalacticart.etsy.com.
And you can find me pretty much anywhere at Cooper S. Beckett. The election's over, but things are still a nightmare in America, so don't follow me on Twitter if you don't want to hear all about that. Instagram is far less political for me. You can buy my books, especially my Osgood is Gone and Osgood Riddance books, my queer horror. And again, I'm saying this because I hope it'll make me finish it. The audiobook for Osgood is Gone should be released by the time this episode is released. I really, really, really hope so.
Fingers crossed.
I believe in you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Cassie, tell our listeners where they can find more about the PikeCast.
You can find us on all social media channels at the PikeCast. It's all one word and it's super easy. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We're also on Goodreads. So we have a Goodreads group called Read with the PikeCast, and you can follow along and mark things so that you can meet your Goodreads challenge goals each month and year. And then we also have a Patreon, so that helps us a lot to keep things going here, from transcription costs to our website, because podcasts do get kind of pricey. And in reciprocation, is that the right word? You're going to edit this, right?
Yeah, I'll edit it, but I don't know what you're looking for, though.
In return for your patronage.
Oh, yes.
You get some really cool stuff like early access to our episodes. And then at higher tiers, you get things like personal t-shirts, bookmarks. You also get access to one of Cooper's books, and you get digital access to my coloring book. And my coloring book actually has Boris and David in it. So if you ever get that, you can color them. Yeah.
It's amazing. Thanks so much, by the way.
No problem. Thank you for being in it.
Oh, Boris.
Oh, Boris loves my book. Yes. Leave that in the episode.
I will. David, thank you again for joining us. We really appreciated your insight, and we hope to have you back again in the future.
Oh, I'd love to. And maybe you guys can choose the book for me, so we pick one that is actually easier to talk about. Because I've really enjoyed it. No one ever asked me to do fun things like this, so it's really nice. Thanks.
Well, I'm really happy we did.
Yes, we definitely want you back.
So our listeners, for your homework for the next episode, you are going to be reading Gimme a Kiss. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, listeners.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time on the PikeCast.
Woo!
You survived the night, friends. You can peek out from under your covers and see the first blues of dawn out the window. Thanks for spending the night with the PikeCast, and we hope you'll join us again next time. Until then, Pikers, pleasant dreams. Okay.
Did we say
Greetings, Phil.
Oh, what? Wait, me or Becca? Which one of us is introducing first?
You are. You are always number
Okay.
one.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Cooper, sorry.
It's okay. What is the thing about Christopher Pike?
I'm so sorry. There's a spider. I'm really sorry. I am so sorry. I'm sorry. There's a spider on my desk, and I don't like bugs. I'm so sorry, guys. Oh,
I summon spiders. Yeah, that's a thing I do.
Oh. I just flung him across the room, dude. He's gone now.
I would have done
sorry.
the same thing, so you're totally good.
Heart is racing.
We have black widows in our house. That wasn't a black widow, but I see something crawl, and I'm like, no. I'm so sorry, guys. Whew, yeah, my heart.
My partner reacts the same way.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
The PikeCast has to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the plot in detail.
In detail?
In detail.
In detail. In detail. I'm sorry.
In detail.
I was like, I like that. Is that your new little thing for the PikeCast? I like it.
Indeeda.
Every now and then, Cooper's just gonna be like, Indeeda.
That one goes out to Cassie. There really is a lot. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
go
I
ahead,
think we
Cassie.
just said the same exact thing.
Oh, yeah. Yes, but you say it because I talk a lot. Go ahead. Give me a kiss. I should have had more information about that because I ended it on a high. And
I know I made a kissy sound, but I don't know if it caught over. So if it didn't, I need you to add a kissy sound effect in there. Good. Yes. Let me tell you guys, this is a tangent. I'm sorry. This is like the market basket story. I have to tell y'all though. So, okay. I worked at a movie theater for a pretty long time, and I worked behind in the concession stand. And I remember one year, my first year that I was working there was a Super Bowl, and I did not know what that was because, again, I'm not a sporty person. So the entire shift until the end, I kept making jokes with people about like, how smelly must those shoes be? And like, do they bring their own balls? Because I thought it was a bowling championship. And the entire day, yes. And the entire day, customers gave me funny looks, but kind of chuckled in a polite way. Like, what's wrong with you, girl? And it took me until my manager pulled me aside when I was leaving. And he's like, hey, you know, that's not bowling, right? And I was like, are you fucking serious, dude? You let me talk about this all day without telling me this is not bowling? I am a fool. You have made an absolute fool of me.
You are the cutest person I know. Oh my God.
I just love that your manager had to tell you what the Super Bowl was.
And he knew. He was laughing and telling other people to listen to me without me knowing. Aww. He was telling my coworkers, he's like, not like in a mean way, but like in a funny, like, can you believe this? Go listen to Cassie and what she says to the next customer. Like, and I didn't know why they were laughing. Because people always laugh. I thought it was fun jokes. I was laughing too.
Wow.
I thought I was just really clever with my bowling jokes, and apparently I was not. Okay, now back to the episode.
I don't even know what to do after that. I don't even know.